Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. In this episode, we have the International Governing Body of Swimmers, FINA, banning transgender swimmers like Leah Thomas from competing against women in elite events. Now, there's a caveat to this. They still are going to allow transgender swimmers to compete, but we'll get into that detail in just one moment. As always, if you want to join us here at the Bald Brad Show, or heck, support a conservative, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Share this link with your friends and family all over social media. And with that being said, they say that FINA, the International Governing Body for Swimming Competitions, approved new policies for transgender swimmers on Sunday. The new restrictions bar transgender athletes from competing against women in elite events, except under one condition. So what is this condition? Well, FINA will allow transgender swimmers to compete if they have completed their transition by the age of 12. Now, I've seen 12-year-olds, and I've even seen some 10-year-olds, but reffing ice hockey, some of these 12-year-olds look like they're 14 or 16, and they have a massive advantage, at least their physique does, against people their own age as well. Meaning that if they go up to hit somebody, even if they don't intend to blow the kid up, the kid's gonna go flying into the boards. So I'd imagine there has to be some sort of carryover into swimming where your physique, your muscle level is different than your own sex at that level, and that you would have an unfair advantage, or at least the opponents of you would have an unfair advantage of going up against them. But at least you're within your own sex, because if you're dominating in the male sector, in the male gender, in the male sex, then you would have to eviscerate the female sex at that age because your muscle development is so much greater than them. But here's the issue. They're saying something completely different here. They're saying the science is backing up them in terms of 11 and 12-year-olds as far as sex changes and where they're at in their development of puberty and such. They say here, this is not saying that people are encouraged to transition by the age of 12. It's what the scientists are saying, that if you transition after the start of puberty, you have an advantage, which is unfair. They go on to say, they are not saying everyone should transition by age 11. That's ridiculous. You can't transition by that age in most countries, and hopefully you wouldn't encourage to. That statement has to piss off a lot of people in the trans community because they want that encouragement to happen. They want that affirmation. They want to affirm people to believe what they think that they actually are, when in reality, objectively, you're not what you think that you are. Basically, what they're saying is that it's not feasible for people who have transitioned to compete without having an advantage. FINA also proposed a new open competition policy, and this is kind of what a lot of people are talking about. And well, what should we do with these transgender people or swimmers? Should we make a new category for them, or should we not allow them to compete? So this kind of answers that question. So they created a new open competition policy that would allow transgender athletes to compete in another category. The organization stated that a new working group that will spend the next 6 months looking at the most effective ways to set up this new category. We have to protect the rights of our athletes to compete, but also have to protect competitive fairness at our events, especially the women's category at FINA competitions. Now, there's a little bit, in my mind, a contradiction there of we have to have and protect the competitive fairness at our events, but you're going to have a 12-year-old or somebody that's even 11 transitioning into 12 and converting to a male into a female or vice versa, be able to compete in different events, but you want to at least protect the fairness aspect of that. And I'm saying from my angle, as somebody that referees ice hockey that deals with youth on a week-to-week basis, there's not even fairness in the same sex, and you have some of these males that are drastically bigger than other males, and you want to move them into competing against females as long as they don't transition or they're within transitioning before the age of 12. I don't see that as being very fair, but again, they're saying something totally different than what I'm saying here. FINA will always welcome every athlete. The creation of an open category will mean that everybody has the opportunity to compete at an elite level. This has not been done before, so FINA will need to lead the way. I want all athletes to feel included in being able to develop ideas during this process. You have Brent Nowicki, the governing body executive director, says FINA's approach is drafting this policy was comprehensive, science-based, and inclusive, and importantly, FINA's approach emphasized competitive fairness. Again, I got a little problem with them throwing this word fairness down because there's not even fairness within your own sex, meaning males versus females, but they want males to be able to compete with females depending on which age they transition by. So it seems a little bit of contradictory, but they go on here to say the science group noted that testosterone, body structure, and muscle function provided transgender athletes with benefits that a biological female cannot overcome that advantage through training or nutrition. Completely contradicts what the left is saying on all this. The left is saying there is no difference between male and female. The left is saying that males don't have that enhanced testosterone, body structure, and muscle function. They don't believe any of that. They think that females are on par with males. That's not to say anything bad about females. That's just biological fact that there is a difference between male and females, but the left doesn't want to agree with that. So I have a feeling there's going to be some pushback from the LGBT community on these statements. The new regulations would bar transgender swimmers like Leah Thomas from competing against women in elite events. Earlier this year, Thomas became the first openly transgender woman to win an NCAA Division I women's swimming title at the University of Pennsylvania student. So at least we're moving in the direction of what should be done and rightfully done, if you want to talk about fairness and how people should compete against one another, of not allowing males to compete in female sports. But again, as I'm restating, I do also have a problem even with 12-year-olds, if we're talking about transitioning before the age of 12 in terms of when somebody hits puberty, and not even that's on a spectrum within itself, is that there are biological differences even at that age group. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's objective. There are kids out there that look like they're 14 and 16 competing against 12-year-olds, even in their same sex, and they're dominating that sector. Let alone if you're going to go into swimming, I would imagine, again, there's certain biological factors that are in ice hockey that would carry over into swimming that would give you an advantage even in your own sex, and you're going to allow them to go up against the other sex and completely destroy that category in elite competition. So there is some contradictory statements. I think they're trying to appease both crowds here by saying, look, we're still trying to be inclusive, but at the same time compete for fairness. But I think they're going to have a lot of pushback from the LGBT community. Folks, with that being said, let me know what you think about this. Do you agree with what they're doing here? Do you like that new category that they're trying to establish to allow people to kind of have an open call for somebody that's a male or female or transition to kind of all jump in the pot in their own willingness to be able to compete, whether it's fair or not fair? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm curious to see what you all have to say. And as always, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Share this link with your friends and family all over social media. That being said, I will see you later here on The Bald Brad Show.